Hello, I am Reese Wallace,
And I'm Luke Clancy.
and this is the Cedar Log. Hello and welcome. Today we'll be talking about Camp Hart from the 70s to the 80s. So there was another capital campaign that led to some refurbishing around Hart, but it doesn't seem like it was as major as the capital campaign in the 1950s.
And talk about other campaigns that were happening in the 70s was more national scouting wise. They had different campaigns like Operation Reach, which was an operation to stop drug abuse and drug use among youth in the 70s. There was also GIFT, which stands for Get Involved for Them, which was a push from National BSA to parents of scouting, mainly the fathers, to get them more involved in any way possible, from volunteering to becoming scoutmasters to even working at camp at points they were pushing. There was also Project SOAR, and SOAR stands for Save Our American Resources. And demonstrate good conservation practices like we see now today with Leave No Trace, uh, as well as something else. In 1976, women were approved nationally to become cub masters. So that's something.
Thank you, Luke. So for Hart in 1973, some new tents were bought, dining hall was converted to cafeteria style, new patrol boxes and picnic tables were made, and some new gear and equipment was added to the camp inventory. Also, in that same year, a pilot Weeblos program was conducted for 90 scouts as a trial for the national office. And Cub Scouting at Hart didn't stop there. In 1975, Cub Scout adventure weekends were conducted pretty much every weekend of the summer, and they operate from Saturday afternoon to Sunday at noon. And in the later years of this weekend Cub Scout adventure weekends, or whatever they called them, they averaged around 1,150 participants per season. And in 1977, a pilot Cub camp was conducted for the national office.
Before we move on to the 1980s, I just wanted to say that the 70s was actually a big time for expansion in scouting due to the fact that the practices and programs that are known today were really strengthened and even created, such as Leave No Trace and Professional Scout. As well as talk on the expansion of scouting, the 80s really created something that a lot of scouts are a part of today, especially in Cub Scouting, which is the Tiger Rank. In 1980, the Tiger was officially created, but it wasn't until 1982 where it officially became part of the pack.
And in the 1980s, some prominent scouters in the Cradle of Liberty Council, including Dr. David Sirkin, Mark Chaluti, and Fred Lynch, were on the Hart Scout Reservation camp staff. I know Mr. Chaluti was working at handicraft, and then Dr. Sirkin, even back then, was aspiring to be the doctor that he is today, because I see lots of references to him wanting to be a doctor and all the various Hart staff yearbooks that the committee has and I go through for research. Also in the 80s, so 1986, Bouncing Betsy, the suspension bridge from the east to west side, was unfortunately destroyed in a flood. And then in 1989, Unami Lodge was condemned. So that was the lodge house at Hart. Apparently the floor was too weak, so they had to stop using the building. But on a positive note, in 1990, a basketball court was built on the quote-unquote orchard by Pheasant Campsite thanks to a donation from Warrant P. Muster and Safeguard Scientifics. That basketball court is still there today, and this orchard wasn't really quite an orchard. From the Hart staff I've talked to, they always called that field the orchard, but there was never any trees or actual orchard there, so kind of interesting how they named that. In 1990, the opening campfire site by Perry Long Cabin was used for the last time. This was also called the quote-unquote fun campfire area, as our advisor Phil Hittner likes to call it. In the early to mid 1990s, a lot of specialty camps were hosted at Hart, which included a Penn State Science and Energy camp, a sports camp, and even a space camp. And there was also the YMCA, and they brought some of their kids to camp, and they even had their own staff lead them around to the various program areas. So it seemed like in the early the mid 90s, and just overall, there was a lot of outside entities that were also using camp. I see lots of references in the various Hart staff yearbooks from those times talking about the YMCA kids and how they went to camp and, had their own staff with those kids, but also with those specialty camps. Yearbooks are a critical part of preserving our history. So if you have any Hart or any other camp staff yearbooks, we'd love to see them. So please email us at history@unamilodge.org if you happen to have any of those.
I would just like to thank everyone for tuning into this week's podcast. If you guys have any questions, comments about Camp Hart or any future episodes, please feel free to contact us at history@unamilodge.org, or you can find us on Instagram and Facebook. Thank you, stay safe, have a great day.